Good day. The topic of lecture 12 is text as the communicative lingual unit of the highest rank. We'll discuss the notion of text, its structural and functional interpretations, structural types of text, and grammatical means of text cohesion. We already know that language is regarded as a system of signs which is organized by the principle of hierarchy of levels of lingual units. The peculiarity of this hierarchy lies in the fact that units of any higher level are formed of units of the immediately lower one. Thus, morphemes are formed of phonemes, words of morphemes, sentences of words, and so on. We also pointed out that the lowest level in the hierarchy of lingual units is a phonemic level, which is formed of phonemes. Phonemes are not signs yet, as they have no meaning, but they are material elements for building the higher level units, morphemes and words. Their function is purely differential, since they differentiate morphemes and words as material bodies. For instance, sheep and sheep, cap and cat, bed and bed. The level located above the phonemic one is a morphemic or morphological level. The morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of a language. Therefore, it is the smallest meaningful segment of a word. It is built up by a sequence of phonemes or even by one phoneme if it has a meaning. For instance, the words Rosie, comes, and boys consist of two morphemes, one of which is the root morpheme, which is built up by a sequence of phonemes, whereas the other morpheme is an inflectional affix represented by a meaningful phoneme, respectively marking the grammatical meaning of quality in the word Rosie, the present tense, the third person, and the singular number in the word comes, and the plural number in the word boys. The third level in the lingual hierarchy is the lexemic level, represented by words as lexical items or lexemes. The word is the smallest designating, that's naming unit of a language. It designates things, for instance, dog, boy, table, woman, book, river, etc. Qualities such as quiet, beautiful, round, interesting, deep, and so on. Actions, states of processes, for instance, bark, laugh, stand, read, crawl, etc. The next level in the hierarchical system of language is the syntactic level, the main unit of which is a sentence. The sentence is an elementary full sign, as it not only designates a certain target situation or event, but performs communicative function as well, transmitting a comparatively completed piece of information. For instance, the sentence, "The American delegation arrived in Tbilisi for a 3-day visit," designates a particular target event on the one hand and transmits the corresponding information about this event on the other hand. But the sentence is not the highest unit of language in the hierarchy of levels. When we speak or write, we don't confine ourselves to single phrases or sentences. We string these together to make a connected sequence which results in building a text. Thus, the highest level of lingual units is the textual level represented by the text. There are two methodological approaches to the linguistic interpretation of the notion of text, structural and functional. From the structuralist viewpoint, text can be defined as a sequence of thematically interrelated well-formed sentences. According to this definition, the lower border of the text is restricted, as it implies a sequence of at least two sentences. But the structural definition of the text leaves its upper top border open because of the varying diapason of the theme. On this basis, linguists differentiate structural types of text into microtext and macrotext. In microtext, sentences center around one concrete theme, whereas in a macrotext, microtexts are united by a global hypertheme which is derived from the constituent microthemes. Let's consider an example which represents a news report about Prince Harry, the British royal. I'll read this text. Prince Harry vacationing in Mallorca without girlfriend. Days after another royal wedding, Prince Harry has been spotted relaxing in Mallorca. The royal 26, who stepped out solo for cousin Zara Phillips' nuptials in Scotland, is vacationing on the Mediterranean island, reportedly keeping close company with an unnamed bikini-clad female as well as some close friends. He also was seen dining out at the Villa Italia restaurant in Port Andrax, on the southwest end of the island. The small group sat on the terrace, which is very quiet and beautiful, Chef Christian Katrina tells people, adding that a family friend who frequents the restaurant recommended it to Harry and his companions. They had dinner and then left quite early. Meanwhile, his rumored girlfriend, Florence Bradenell Bruce, 25, has been home in London, where she was seen out and about riding her bike and photographed gardening outside her apartment. This newspaper article represents a macrotext generated under the headline Prince Harry vacationing in Mallorca without girlfriend, which serves as the hypertheme of the text. It is formed of 4 microtexts, each having its own concrete theme around which sentences are united. The theme of the first microtext can be formulated as Prince Harry relaxing in Mallorca. The second as Prince Harry in the company of a bikini-clad female. The third as Chef Christian Katrina reporting about Prince Harry. And the last as Prince Harry's girlfriend alone in London. There also exists a notion of megatext, which comprises a cycle of thematically interrelated short stories, poems, or even novels by one author. For instance, John Goldsworthy's trilogy, The Forsyte Saga, represents a megatext because it consists of 3 novels, The Men of Property, In Chancery, and To Let, each describing a certain period of the Forsyte family. As for the functional methodology of linguistic analysis, it also finds its manifestation in the text definition. We have surveyed the levels of language system and have seen that a sentence is an elementary lingual unit that can perform communicative function, whereas a text is treated as the highest communicative unit. Therefore, we can say that from the functionalist viewpoint, a verbal unit of any length be it a sequence of thematically interrelated sentences, one sentence or even one word can be defined as a text if it performs a communicative function. This definition explains the existence of such one-word sentence texts as fire, help, and many others that are restricted by the context of the corresponding speech acts. British scholar Michael Halliday writes that text is language in use. This implies that text is a speech product, whereas language exists as a system of virtual signs that represent building materials for the text. In other words, language system provides the speaker or the writer with abstract models by which they convert their ideas into a text. Text as a communicative verbal unit has its peculiar characteristics. Textual characteristics are first of all predetermined by a whole set of such factors as the communicants, comprising both the addressor and the addressee, the text with the help of which they interact, the place and the time of the communication, the correspondence between the textual world and the object world of reality, and so on. This means that while analyzing a text, we should focus on the features that completely differ from lingual units proper. The set of all these and other similar extra-linguistic characteristics has led to the development of pragmatics as an inseparable branch of communicative linguistics. At present, communicative linguistics and pragmatics represent two interdependent aspects of discourse analysis, be it conversations or written texts. Text analysts claim that there are some grammatical and lexical regularities observable in well-formed written texts that explain how the structuring of sentences has implications for units such as microtexts. The English grammar offers a limited set of options for creating surface links between the clauses and sentences of a text, otherwise known as text cohesion. According to Halliday and Hassan, most texts display links from sentence to sentence in terms of such grammatical features as pronominalization, ellipses, and conjunctions of various kinds. Texts displaying such cohesive features are easy to find. Let's consider a microtext from the famous English novel Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. The schoolmaster was leaving the village and everybody seemed sorry. The miller at Crescombe lent him the small white tilted cart and horse to carry his goods to the city of his destination, about 20 miles off, such a vehicle proving quite a sufficient size for the departing teacher's effects. In this microtext, the italicized items refer. For the text to be coherent and cohesive, we assume that him in the sentence lent him the small white tilted cart is the schoolmaster introduced earlier. Likewise, his destination is the schoolmaster's destination. Reference for him and his can be confirmed by looking back in the text. The phrase such a also links back to the cart in the previous sentence. The novel opens with the schoolmaster leaving the village. The use of the definite article implies the questions: which schoolmaster which village? On the previous page of the novel, two words at Mary Queen stand alone. So we reasonably assume that Mary Queen is the name of the village and that the character is the schoolmaster of that village. All these grammatical and lexical entities create text cohesion. Now we'll discuss grammatical means of text cohesion. In linguistic literature, cohesion is defined as the use of explicit linguistic devices to signal relations within a text or a sentence. Cohesion can be defined as the links that hold the text together and give it a meaning. There are two main types of cohesion, grammatical and lexical. Grammatical cohesion of the text is mainly achieved through coreference. That's the relationship between lingual signs designating the same entity in the textual world. Coreferential items in English include personal pronouns he, she, it, they, demonstratives this, that, these, those, the definite article, and items like such as. Linguists identify three main types of the coreferential devices. Looking backward, that's anaphoric reference. Looking forward, that's cataphoric reference. And looking outward, that's exophoric reference. Anaphoric reference is the most common type of reference used subconsciously in everyday conversation and writing. It occurs when the writer refers back to someone or something that has been previously identified in order to avoid repetition and be more compact. In Greek, the word anaphorein had the meaning to refer back, to carry back. It is known that human mind is rather restricted and limited in its capacity to store surface materials long enough to work on them. Anaphoric use of pronouns shorten and simplify the surface text without any difficulties for the reader. For instance, there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. In this well-known children's rhyme, the pronoun she makes it unnecessary to keep saying the old woman who lived in a shoe, or the woman, or even the woman. Usually, items such as he or him, she or her, or they or them can be decoded with major difficulty, whereas other items such as it, this, and that may be more troublesome because of their ability to refer to longer stretches in a text. Let's borrow an example from Halliday and Hassan. It rained day and night for 2 weeks. The basement flooded and everything was underwater. It spoiled all our calculations. Here, the pronoun it seems to mean the events of the 2 weeks or the fact that it rained and flooded. That is, the situation as a whole rather than one specified entity in that situation. Anaphora is the most common directionality for coreference, since the identity of the conceptual content being kept current is made plain in advance. The second subtype of coreferential devices is the cataphoric reference, which is the reverse of anaphoric reference and is relatively straightforward. It occurs when the reader is introduced to someone or something as an abstract entity until it is identified by a coreferring expression later. Halidi and Hassan defined cataphora as the use of the proform before the co-referring expression. It creates a temporarily empty position of a lingual sign until the required content is supplied. These scholars indicate that such a mechanism would work best if the distance between the proform and the co-referring expression is kept within limits, for instance, inside the boundaries of a single sentence. They provide the following example. I don't know if he's serious, but my roommate wants to walk a tightrope over a Niagara Falls. Cataphoric reference is less common than anaphoric, but its use makes the speech dramatic and more expressive. In this example, the use of cataphora makes the speech dramatic and more expressive. A pronoun may look ahead to an entire event rather than an individual object, as in Halidi and Hassan's this example. I would never have believed it. They have accepted the whole scheme. Cataphoric reference is less common than anaphoric, but in written text it can be used for dramatic or stylistic effect, as well as for such pragmatic purpose as to intensify the reader's interest, stimulating them to get the necessary information for filling up the gap created by the pronoun. In news stories and literature, examples of cataphoric use of pronouns are often found in the opening lines. The initial use of cataphoric reference is considered as the manifestation of the author's communicative strategy to engage and hold the reader's attention with a read-on and find-out message. The third type of co-referential devices is Exophora, that implies a reference to assumed shared words outside the text. In Greek, the word exo had the meaning of outside. Exophoric reference is mainly used to describe generic or abstract situations. It occurs when the speaker chooses not to identify a person or a thing, but instead refers to them as abstract entities by generic words such as indefinite pronouns, everyone, everybody, everything, etc. For instance, everybody loves his own mother, or no one drives a car when he's drunk, or everyone likes to relax his own garden. Another cohesive device is ellipsis. It is the omission of elements normally required by the grammar, which the speaker or writer assumes are obvious from the context and therefore need not be raised. This is not to say that every utterance which is not fully explicit is elliptical. Most messages require some input from the context to make sense of them. Ellipsis is distinguished by the structure with some missing elements. In face-to-face discourse, the omission of compulsory structural elements in the utterance is predetermined by the physical environment of the communication. For instance, if two persons have to peel and fry potatoes, and one tells the other, you peel and I'll fry, the fact that peel and fry are usually transitive verbs requiring the object in the surface structure is suspended because the context supplies the object. In other words, structures are fully realized when they need to be. Therefore, ellipsis is a choice made by the speaker or the writer on a pragmatic assumption of the situation, and not a compulsory feature when two clauses are joined together. In written text, the missing structural element is retrievable from the surrounding text, that's co-text, in the way that anaphoric and cataphoric references are. For example, we meet anaphoric ellipses in the following sentence. The children will carry the small boxes, the adults the large ones, where the main verb will carry is supplied from the first sentence to the second. In cataphoric ellipses, the missing structural element is usually observed in front-place subordinate clauses and can be easily supplied from the principal clause. For instance, if you could, I would like you to be here back at 5:30. There are three types of ellipses in English: nominal, verbal, and clausal. Nominal ellipses often involves omission of a noun head word. For instance, Nelly liked green tiles, myself I prefer the blue. Verbal ellipses may cause greater problems. Linguists point out two common types of verbal ellipses: echoing and auxiliary contrasting. Echoing repeats an element from the verbal group. For instance, will anyone be waiting? Jim will, I think. Contrasting verbal ellipsis is when the auxiliary changes. We can see such change in this short dialogue. Has she remarried? No, but she will one day, I'm sure. With clausal ellipses in English, individual clause elements may be omitted. Especially common are subject pronoun omissions, such as does not matter, hope so, can't help you, etc. Whole stretches of clausal components may also be omitted. For instance, he said he would take an early retirement as soon as he could, and he has, in the meaning that he has already retired. Another grammatical means of text cohesion is substitution. Substitution is similar to ellipsis in the fact it has on the text. It occurs when, instead of leaving a word or phrase out, as in ellipsis, it is substituted for another, more general word. For instance, which ice cream would you like? I would like the pink one. In this case, the indefinite pronoun one is used instead of repeating the phrase ice cream. Like ellipsis, substitution operates either at nominal, verbal, or clausal levels. The items commonly used for substitution in English are one or once. For instance, I offered him a seat. He said he did not want one. Do, for instance, did Mary take that letter? She might have done. So or not? Do you need a lift? If so, wait for me. If not, I'll see you there. And the last item is same. She chose the roast duck. I chose the same. It should be noted that both ellipsis and substitution assume a lot from the context. They proceed on the basis that omitted and substituted elements are easily recoverable and therefore natural in speech situations where a high degree of contextual support is available. The last grammatical means of text cohesion we would like to focus on are conjunctions. Conjunctions make grammatical contributions to textuality in a specific way. A conjunction does not set off a search backward or forward for its referent, but it does presuppose a textual sequence and signals a relationship between its segments. It is not at all easy to list definitively all the items that perform conjunctive role in English. Halidi and Hassan have classified English conjunctions over 40 items according to logical semantic types of relationship they can establish between textual segments. As a result, they offer the following functional semantic types of conjunctions. Additives that comprise such elements, conjunctions as and, in addition, further, etc. Adversatives, for instance, but, however, although, etc. Causal, that comprises because, consequently, since, as, etc. And temporal, for instance, then, subsequently, after, before, etc. Halidi and Hassan focus on polysemantic nature of frequently used conjunctions, such as and, since, and so on, and others, whose meaning can be defined on the basis of contextual information. For instance, we can observe the wide use of the conjunction and in the examples given below, where the meaning of this conjunction varies according to the linguistic context. I'll read these sentences. The first sentence. She is intelligent and she is very reliable. In this case, the conjunction has an additive meaning. The second sentence. I have lived here for 10 years and I have never heard of that pub. This time, the conjunction has an adversative meaning and it can be substituted by the conjunction but. The third sentence. He fell in the river and caught a chill, where the conjunction and has a causal meaning. And the last sentence. I got up and made my breakfast. This time, the conjunction and expresses temporal sequence. Thus, we have discussed text as a communicative lingual sign of the highest rank. We have reviewed the notion of text from two methodological viewpoints, structural and functional, focusing on their differential features as well as on the structural types of text. And finally, we concentrated on the grammatical means of text cohesion and the mechanisms of their functioning in the text. In connection with this, we have analyzed such cohesive devices of the English language as anaphoric, cataphoric, and exophoric references, ellipses, substitution, and functional semantic types of conjunctions. With this, we have finished our course of lectures in the series of English grammar. Thank you for attention.